The point guard is the most important position on a basketball team, and a good point guard can make a team from chumps to champs. But what happens when you have a point guard that surpasses all aspects of his position? When they have specific abilities that no amount of training or dedication can replicate? When they're doing things that seem impossible, for a human at least? You get a point guard. We all know that the main job of a point guard is to facilitate and control the offense, but point guards, they are the offense. And today, we're going to be talking about the top 10 in NBA history. So grab some OJ and get ready to eat your hoops for breakfast. Starting off with the 10th best point guard of all time, Russell Westbrook. When you're the most athletic point guard in NBA history, you become a force of nature. Like a tornado in sneakers, Westbrook tears up the opponent's defense with ease and leaves absolute mayhem behind. His insane strength, athleticism, and versatility made him a triple-double factory and one of the most feared players to play against. Well, at least before he joined the Lakers. Let's check the stats. Russ was MVP in 2017 and has had 9 All-Star selections over his career. Twice he was the NBA scoring champ, 3 times the NBA's leader in assists, and the most impressive with him is that he has the most triple-double in NBA history. He is only one of 2 players to average a triple-double in a season. Prime Brody was him, both on and off the court. Speaking of a triple-double master, brings us to the 9th best point guard of all time, Oscar Robertson. If you think Russ is impressive, Robertson did everything Russ did, but better. He has had both higher points and assist totals over his career and higher points per game and assists per game. And he did it in less time. The Big O was so versatile that he became the pioneer of the term complete player. Over his career, he won a ring against Earl the Pearl Monroe, was the MVP of the 1964 regular season, and check this, out of 12 All-Star selections, he won MVP in 3 of them. You know who else played in those games? Bill Russell, Elgin Baylor, the Great Wilt, Bob Pettit, and Jerry West. Top 75 players of all time is what we're talking here. Yeah, he was that guy. Speaking of top 75 greats, the 8th point guard in NBA history, Steve Nash. When it comes to efficiency in the point guard position, no one can sniff Captain Canada. It's a challenge to even make the 50-40-90 club once, but this man did it 4 times. One of Nash's greatest abilities was his leadership and ability to unleash the potential of his teammates. The Suns went from an abysmal 29 wins and 13th in the West to 62 wins and 1st in the West after he joined in 2004. His impact, insane IQ, and efficiency is what makes him one of only 3 point guards to ever win multiple MVPs. 2 of those, an 8-time All-Star, 5-time assist leader. Captain Canada coined the phrase floor general. Speaking of generals, the 7th best point guard of all time, Zeke. Most people only remember Isaiah Thomas as a villain and the leader of the infamous Bad Boy Pistons, and that view has made him underrated in the eyes of many. But if you take off the lens of his reputation and controversies, you'd see a player of unparalleled skill and leadership, and a man who spanked the GOAT multiple times in the playoff. Isaiah Thomas was not just a villain, he was one of the best leaders in NBA history and a maestro on the court. If the Bad Boy Pistons were a muscle car ramming everything in sight, then Zeke was the engine. An engine that was fueled by his unmatched toughness and competition. And this engine was what drove the Bad Boy Pistons to winning back-to-back chips and making them one of the greatest and most memorable teams in NBA history. Oh, and he was a 12-time All-Star. Which brings us to the 6th best point guard in NBA history, Jason Kidd. J. Kidd is the most underrated point guard in NBA history history. I mean, look at the stats. Won the finals with Dirk in 2011, 5-time All-NBA first team, 4-time NBA All-Defensive first team, and a 10-time All-Star. Led the league in assists for 5 years, and he's got the second most assists and steals in NBA history. Oh, and won a gold medal for Team USA. But even with kids' accolades, the most overlooked aspect of his game is his defense. Not only does he have the second most steals in NBA history, but he also has the second most blocks by a point guard in the history of the game, behind John Wall. Kidd's ability to anticipate passes, deny penetration, and guard multiple possessions makes him one of the best defensive point guards in NBA history. You can't spell kid without D. Now for the top 5, the 5th best point guard of all time, John Stockton. When it comes to the textbook definition of a point guard, then Stock is your guy. He had it all. Off the charts IQ, pinpoint passing, crazy court vision, but all of these qualities pale in comparison when compared to his insane longevity and consistency. Stockton played 19 seasons in the NBA, which is the most career seasons by a point guard in NBA history. And out of those 19 seasons, he played a full 82 games in 17 of them. Iron Man wishes he had that durability. And yeah, he was an All-NBA first team twice, a 10-time All-Star, led the league in assists and steals, but John Stockton had the most assists and steals in NBA history. Yeah, he's a point guard. Which brings us to the point guard, CP3.
Oh my gosh, my favorite point guard, Chris Paul, man. Chris Paul, man. What's up, man?
Who?
You ain't Chris Paul?
Nah, who are you?
Oh, you ain't Chris?
The disrespect. But when someone's nickname is Point God, you know they're legit. I mean, come on. Throughout CP's long and consistent career, this man has elevated every single team he's been a part of. These are the records of teams before and after they added Chris Paul. The New Orleans Hornets, 18 to 56 wins after drafting him. The Clippers, 32 wins in 2011 to 56 wins in 2012. The James Harden Rockets, 55 to 65, who were also first in the league, by the way. The recent Suns from 34 to 64 wins. Without a doubt, CP3 is one of the most impactful point guards in NBA history. Here's his stats in case you aren't convinced. Which brings us to the number 3 point guard of all time. And I gotta ask a question real quick. Who's on the logo? And we're so sad to say that he just recently passed away, but his legacy will live on forever. There's a reason why Jerry West is the logo. He's a pioneer of everything. The point guard position stands for being the team's leader. He led his team to 9. I said 9 finals appearances, only to fall short to a couple of scrubs named Bill Russell and John Havlicek 8 times, one of which he, Jerry West, who lost the NBA Finals, was the Finals MVP. I mean, come on. He could dish dimes and get hoops and took Team USA to a gold medal. All of this while averaging 30 points per game multiple times without a three-point line. Yeah, his scoring ability was way ahead of its time. He was so good at scoring in crucial moments, he got nicknamed Mr. Clutch. So before we get into the top 2 point guards of all time, we gotta have some honorable mentions. Ben Simmons. Yeah, right. Here are the honorable mentions of some of the best who could be argued as a point guard. Gary Payton, easily the best defensive point guard of all time and the greatest player in Supersonics history. Bob Cousy, nicknamed the Houdini of the hardwood. This man was one of the most accomplished point guards in the history of the game and a founding father that revolutionized the position. Kyrie, aka Uncle Drew. When he's not involved involved in conspiracies, Kyrie is by far the best ball handler and the best finisher basketball has ever seen. And we'll throw his alpha in there, Luka Doncic. Right now, Luka is only 25 and already has records broken like scoring titles, triple-doubles, and all NBA team accolades. If he continues at this rate, he'll for sure be a top 10 point guard. And a couple more, some chumps might argue, and we won't complain, Dame Dollar and D-Rose. Enough with those. Now for the two greatest point guards in NBA history, Stephen Curry and Magic Johnson. If you ask most people who's the best point guard of all time, 9 times out of 10, they say Steph or Magic. And there's a full and complete argument for each of them, but we'll save the full comparison for another video. So, who's better? The guy that was so good they called him Magic instead of his actual name? Or the guy that's so good he changed how the entire game of basketball is being played? A quick comparison of the careers show us that Magic beat Steph in nearly every category. More titles, more MVPs, more everything. So Magic is obviously our winner, right? Well, not quite. Magic might have had all the accolades, but in terms of actual skills on the court, the chef stays cooking. Steph's proficiency in scoring is so potent that it literally changed basketball forever. And while Magic had impact, it was usually limited to his team. Steph's impact transcended the globe.
Steph Curry, Stephen Curry.
Steph Curry?
But scoring is just one part of being a point guard. The other parts, well, Magic crushes Steph. Better facilitator, better rebounder, better court vision, better point guard. At the end of the day, Steph is the best offensive player to play the point. But Magic orchestrated the point as perfect as could have been played. No one in NBA history has played it on the level he did, and that makes him, without a doubt, the best point guard in NBA history.